Fox News Alert. Let's go back to Alexis McAdams with more details. Alexis.
Yeah, so we just got into our newsroom some breaking news. Fox News now confirming, Griff, that the suspect in this ongoing investigation that they're calling a mass casualty that left 10 people dead and others injured is a man who is now dead. They're waiting on his name, his age, etc. So David Spunt is reporting on this as well. He's working on this and talking to his sources. According to David Spunt and his sources, this guy plowed into the crowd, then fired into that crowd, exchanging gunfire with police. As we said, the suspect is dead, but it's unclear at this point, right? We don't know yet if he was hit by police or how he died, you know, if this was a self-inflicted gunshot wound. So we're working to get more on that. But you can see the sun is now up there in New Orleans. They've got the crime scene tape up. This is all on Bourbon Street and Canal Street. This is such a busy area. So people waking up there to also be in town for the Sugar Bowl, thousands of people heard this from police. Listen.
What I also can tell you is that this man, this perpetrator, he fired on our officers from his vehicle when he crashed his vehicle. 2 of our officers have been shot. They are stable. He was hell-bent on creating the carnage and the damage.
Yeah, I mean, these officers were arriving because of what was happening. We know they had all hands on deck, just like they did last night when I was out in New York City for the ball drop. And they have these take months to prep for when you're in a big city like this, especially on Bourbon Street. They're used to big events, but they had all of their officers out there. So to know that now we know officers were wounded, we're going to have to wait and see exactly what their injuries are. Griff, you mentioned this, but let's just talk about it real quick. President Biden, we know, was briefed on the horrific news of this driver killing people in New Orleans overnight. So the FBI, as we said, is on the ground. The White House knows about it. Local law enforcement, state, federal, you name it. Everybody's involved at this point.
All right, Alexis McAdams in our New York City newsroom. Alexis, great work. Bring us more information and details as you get it. Thank you.
So big piece of information there, Griff, that we have confirmed that the man who plowed down the street, killing 10 people, injuring about 30, has now been confirmed dead after a shootout with police. We know 2 officers have been shot. According to the superintendent, they are in stable condition, but that man is dead. Whether it was a self-inflicted gunshot wound or by fire from the police, we don't know yet.
No, and let's bring in now the former Boston Police Commissioner, Ed Davis, who led the department during the Boston Marathon bombings. Ed, thank you for getting up and talking with us. Obviously, as a reporter, I remember covering you, sir, during the Boston bombing. In the press conferences you held with us were quite as thorough as they could be. We had a long stretch from Monday to Thursday that there was little information, but yet you continued to keep us informed during that time and answer our questions. And really now, Ed, what's at the front of this story right now is the conflicting messages over the mayor saying this was a terror incident and the special agent in charge of the FBI that now has the lead saying it's not. What is your reaction? And if it were of a terrorist nature, what would be your concerns and thoughts at this moment?
Right. Good morning. This is another terrible incident that does bring back horrible memories of what we went through over 10 years ago. But really, the critical mission for the police and the prosecutors is to keep people informed. There's thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people in the city right now about to go to the bowl game later today, and they're uncertain. They're terrified. So you want to try to give them as much information as you can. And this has been a confusing morning. It's great that the information is leaking out that the suspect has been killed and is no longer a threat. So that's a big component. But that didn't come during the official news conference, and so that's a crucial piece of information that really should have been out there. The other thing is, it is confusing that they say the FBI has stepped in, but it's not. There's no nexus to terrorism. Those are sort of conflicting statements. The FBI has to come in on a federal case. There has to be a nexus, some kind of connection to a federal crime. So the question is, what kind of crime is this? Are they just assisting a state prosecution, but taking over the lead of the investigation? That's quite unusual. So this might be a case of the FBI's chain of command not officially declaring this a terrorism event. We ran into that in the Marathon investigation. It took several hours to run the fact pattern up through the Justice Department and the Bureau, and then determine whether or not they would take it over as a terrorist case. So a lot of questions here.
Ed, go ahead.
I just want to follow up if I can on that, because Ed, specifically when you got the two brothers, then we had the fuller picture. And so I'm just sort of stunningly struck that we didn't get any information from that press conference, particularly from the FBI special agent, if she is on the lead right now, of whether or not this was isolated to this one individual that we've now confirmed is dead, or could there be others involved in this?
Right, and I can tell you from experience that when there's an improvised explosive device involved, that requires a level of expertise. People can kill themselves trying to build something like this. So the fact that there was a device on scene that may in fact be explosive, it does open the question as to whether or not this is a lone actor, or even, I mean, I don't want to inflame fear here, but you do have to keep the option open that there may be a continuing threat in a situation like this. Sometimes there are cells of people. This is something that points out how important it is to communicate with the public effectively in the early hours of an incident like this.
And I want to go back to the press conference, because it's hard for me to get over the fact that it felt like the FBI assistant special agent was in a completely different press conference, because you had the police commissioner come out and say, she said, go on about your day and enjoy the festivities. And then you have the FBI agent come out and say there are suspected IEDs. I was EOD tech. I understand some of the protocol when it comes to IEDs, and it's not go gallivant around the city and there's no threat. So my question is on this point of a current threat, an ongoing threat. IEDs can be put laid in wait anywhere. Do you feel like there's some responsibility either on behalf of the city or the FBI to come back to the microphone immediately or sooner rather than later and give people more information?
Something like this, in fairness to the people involved, there is the fog of war that's happening right now. You're getting a lot of information that you're not certain of. As the chief stepped up to the microphone, she said, just on my way down here, I heard about or found out about more victims at different hospitals. So this is very much an unfolding incident. It's very early on in the incident. They have to get the facts down first, and then there's the partnership of two big agencies. I've worked closely with the New Orleans Police Department. They're a big, complex organization that handle an enormous amount of crime day in and day out. And then you've got the FBI coming in, who also have their own protocols and chain of command. And so the fact that an assistant special agent in charge said something that might not make be completely logical is not surprising at this juncture, but it is up to everyone to pull it together, get experts in communication to the table, and then get valid information out there so people will know how to conduct themselves today.
And that's what we need, is more information. Former Boston Police Commissioner Ed Davis. Ed, thank you for taking time.